All right, so today we're going to dive into a field that's a lot cooler than it sounds, literally.
Okay, I like where this is going.
We're talking about refrigeration, air conditioning, and heat pump technicians.
Ah, keeping things cool under pressure. I'm into it.
Right. And, with these crazy temperature swings we've been having, I bet those skills are in high demand.
Absolutely. And it's not just about fixing your window AC unit anymore. Things are getting way more complex, and the tech involved, let's just say it's a whole new ballgame.
And speaking of tech, you sent over some interesting stuff from RoleCatcher. Their career guide is super in-depth, but what really caught my eye was how they're using AI and data to, well, actually land the jobs in this field.
It's pretty fascinating how that's all changing, right? They talk about these automated recruiters, basically, algorithms scanning resumes, looking for very specific keywords. It's like you need tech skills before you even get your foot in the door.
So it's like you're saying the AC unit of the future might be super high tech, but you need high tech skills just to get hired to work on it.
Exactly. And that's where RoleCatcher comes in. They're saying, look, instead of fearing this AI, understand it. Their platform analyzes job descriptions to figure out what employers really want, even if they don't explicitly write it.
Hold on, so you're saying I can see what skills I might be missing and beef up my resume before I even apply?
That's the idea. They call it tailoring your CV for a perfect fit. It's like reverse engineering the whole application process.
Sneaky. I like it. The guide also mentioned a bunch of certifications, though. Are those really essential in this field?
They definitely boost your profile. You've got your EPA Section 608, which is huge for handling refrigerants safely, which obviously is crucial. But what's really cool is they break down certifications for every stage of your career, from entry level all the way up to lead technician.
So there's a clear path to climb that ladder, you're saying.
Mhm.
What's the earning potential look like if you stick with this kind of work?
While the guide doesn't give hard numbers, they do list good salary as a major pro. Plus, think about it. As this tech gets more complex and the demand keeps rising, well, those salaries are probably going to follow suit.
That's a good point. It's not your grandpa's AC repair job anymore.
Not even close. You're the climate control expert, the energy efficiency guru, the person who keeps everyone cool and comfortable in a world that's frankly getting hotter by the minute.
And you've got to be comfortable with tech, too.
Oh,
Always adapting, always learning new things. The guide actually really stressed that whole lifelong learning thing, didn't it?
definitely. Webinars, forums, always updating your skills. It's a field that keeps you on your toes for sure.
So if we had to boil it down to one big takeaway for our listener today, what would you say?
It's not just about the hands-on stuff anymore. This field is a case study in how technology is changing how we even get jobs in the first place. What used to be a good resume now needs data and strategy.
That's a whole new world out there.
It's like they're the conductors, right? Leading the whole orchestra of climate control.
I love that analogy. So walk me through what that actually means. What does a lead technician do?
Well, they're responsible for the big picture stuff, overseeing teams of other technicians, managing projects, even handling budgets. They're the main point of contact for clients, too.
Okay, so it's definitely a step up in terms of responsibility. You need some serious leadership skills for that, right?
Yeah,
Not just the technical know-how.
you got it. They need to be top-notch problem solvers, communicators, and they've got to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to new tech. That whole lifelong learning thing we talked about, it's especially true for lead technicians.
Makes sense. They're the ones setting the example for their team. So someone listening to this thinking, okay, maybe this asks of my future, where do they even start? What kind of education do you need to break into this field?
The guide emphasizes a strong foundation, which usually means some kind of vocational or technical training.
So trade schools, community colleges, programs like that.
Exactly. You want that hands-on experience, right? Those programs often incorporate apprenticeships, which is invaluable. Learn by doing. I like it. But what about someone who's thinking more of a traditional college route? Is there a place for that in the HVAC world?
Absolutely. The guide actually mentions a surprising range of four-year degrees that could be relevant. Mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, even environmental science popped up.
So you could go the super hands-on route or build a broader base of knowledge through a 4-year program. It's pretty cool how this field has those options.
Yeah, and that speaks to how multifaceted it is. It's not just about fixing stuff. It's about understanding these intricate systems, figuring out how to make them as efficient and eco-friendly as possible.
Which brings us back to technology. We've got to talk more about that. It's clearly not just about screwdrivers and wrenches anymore. What are some of the big ways tech is changing the game for HVAC technicians?
One of the biggest is the rise of smart technologies. We're moving away from those old school manually controlled systems to ones that can be monitored and controlled remotely. So like my AC unit is going to know when I'm on my way home from work and cool the house down before I even get there.
You got it. It's all about optimizing that climate control experience, making it seamless for the user, and using energy as efficiently as possible. And technicians are the ones on the front lines, installing, integrating, and troubleshooting these smart systems.
So they're like the architects of indoor comfort. What other tech advancements are you excited about? What's got you geeking out these days?
AI in diagnostics and maintenance is a big one. AI algorithms analyzing data from an HVAC system to, get this, predict potential issues before they even occur.
Wait, seriously. No more getting stuck with a broken furnace in the middle of winter.
That's the goal. It's all about the data. These systems are packed with sensors collecting tons of information. AI crunches that data, looks for patterns, and boom, it can flag a potential problem before it becomes a major headache.
So it's like having a crystal ball for your AC unit. But with all this talk about AI, it makes you wonder, are robots going to replace HVAC technicians altogether?
It's a question that comes up a lot, but honestly, I see it differently. Technology isn't replacing technicians. It's giving them superpowers, augmenting their skills, allowing them to focus on the more complex tasks.
So instead of spending hours trying to figure out why a thermostat is on the fritz, they're designing custom climate control systems for smart homes, or overseeing the installation of these high-tech geothermal heat pumps we keep hearing about.
Exactly. The role of the technician is becoming more specialized, more tech-driven, honestly, even more critical as these systems become more complex.
And that's why that whole lifelong learning thing is non-negotiable. You got to stay ahead of the curve.
Oh.
Speaking of which, the RoleCatcher guide had some excellent tips for that. What were some of their recommendations?
They went beyond the typical stuff, which I appreciated. Of course, continuing education courses at trade schools or community colleges are always a good idea. You want to stay up to date on new technologies and regulations.
Totally. But what else did they suggest? What were some of the less obvious things?
They really tapped into the digital world, which is key these days. They highlighted online courses, webinars, all great ways to learn about the latest trends and advancements from, like, anywhere.
So I could be learning about the latest refrigerant blends while lounging on my couch? Sign me up. But for those who learn best in a more interactive setting, what did they recommend?
Industry conferences and workshops, they're a fantastic way to meet other professionals, hear about the latest research, and really immerse yourself in the future of the field.
It's like networking and knowledge boosting all in one.
Mm.
And I bet those conversations spark all sorts of new ideas and collaborations.
Totally. And they suggested subscribing to industry publications and newsletters, too. It's a way to stay informed without getting overwhelmed by information overload, you know?
Right, curated knowledge from the experts. They didn't forget about online communities either. They mentioned forums and discussion groups as valuable resources for technicians.
Oh, for sure. Those forums are amazing. Technicians from all over the world troubleshooting problems together, sharing tips, learning from each other's experiences. It's like having a global support system available 24/7.
That's so cool. Okay, so we've established that this field is evolving rapidly, and technology is a big part of that. But let's talk about actually landing one of these jobs. We touched on how RoleCatcher is using tech to make the job search easier, but can you walk us through that in a bit more detail? How is their approach different from the traditional way of doing things?
Sure. So, RoleCatcher is all about leveraging the power of data and AI to give job seekers a leg up. They have recognized that the job market's a totally different beast than it used to be, and they're using technology to cut through the noise and help people stand out.
So less about sending out resumes into the void and hoping for the best, and more about a strategic, data-driven approach.
Exactly. They want to give job seekers the tools and insights they need to navigate this new world effectively.
I'm all for that. So in a nutshell, how does it work? How are they using tech to help people get hired?
One of their main features is an AI-powered resume analysis tool. Remember how we talked about those automated recruiters scanning resumes for specific keywords?
Right. It's like your resume has to be written in some secret code to even get past the robot.
It kind of does. But RoleCatcher's AI takes the guesswork out of that. It analyzes both your resume and the job descriptions you're interested in, and it points out any gaps or areas for improvement.
So it's like having a personal career coach, but, without the awkward small talk.
Exactly. It helps you figure out what skills employers are looking for and make sure those are front and center in your application.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about once your resume is top-notch? How does RoleCatcher help you actually get your foot in the door with potential employers?
That's where their Get Discovered option comes in. It actually flips the script on the traditional job search.
Oh, how so?
Instead of you searching for jobs, they let employers search for you.
Whoa, hold up. So it's like a matchmaking service, but for jobs.
Yeah. Pretty much. If you opt in, RoleCatcher anonymizes your profile, highlighting your skills and experience. Their AI then matches your profile with employers actively looking for someone just like you.
So instead of hoping my resume ends up on the right hiring manager's desk, I'm basically putting myself directly in front of companies that are already interested in what I bring to the table.
You nailed it. It streamlines everything. Job seekers get noticed by the right people, and employers save time and energy finding qualified candidates.
Win-win. It sounds like RoleCatcher is using technology in some seriously smart ways to level the playing field for job seekers.
Mm.
But let's not forget about the employers in all of this. How does RoleCatcher help companies find the right people for their open positions?
They've got tools specifically for employers, too. And it's all about efficiency and finding that perfect match. They've got this huge database of job seeker profiles that employers can search through using very specific criteria.
So say a company is looking for a senior technician with, let's say, 5 years of experience installing those geothermal heat pumps. They can use RoleCatcher to pull up a list of candidates that fit the bill.
Exactly. It takes the guesswork out of hiring. And because RoleCatcher has already analyzed all the skills and qualifications, the matching process is super targeted. It saves everyone time and makes sure companies are connecting with the most qualified candidates.
Smart. Okay, now let's talk about the dreaded I-word interviews. What kind of resources does RoleCatcher offer to help people prep for those often nerve-wracking conversations?
Their interview prep stuff is fantastic. They have this massive library of practice interview questions, like over 120,000 of them, all categorized by career and skill level, so you're getting the most relevant practice.
Wow, 120,000 questions. I'd be ready for anything after that.
Right. It's not just about memorizing answers, though. It's about thinking critically about your experiences, figuring out how to highlight your strengths, and really articulate your value to potential employers.
So you go into that interview feeling prepared and confident, knowing what to expect.
Exactly. And get this. They even have an AI-powered feedback tool. You can practice answering questions and get personalized feedback on your responses.
Hold on. An AI that critiques my interviewing skills.
Yep. It's wild, right? It analyzes everything from how clearly you're speaking to your body language and tone, gives you really valuable insights to help you refine your technique.
It's like having a virtual interview coach in your back pocket.
Mm.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the positives of this career path, and honestly, RoleCatcher paints a pretty rosy picture. But let's be real, no job is perfect. What are some of the potential downsides that people should be aware of before jumping into this field?
Well, they're upfront about the fact that it can be physically demanding. We're talking working in tight spaces, sometimes in crazy temperatures, dealing with heavy equipment.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart.
Right, not your typical desk job.
Definitely not. And there's potential exposure to hazardous materials, too, which is something to be mindful of.
Of course, refrigerants, if not handled properly, can be dangerous.
Exactly. And while some technicians might have a regular 9-to-5 schedule, the guide also points out that irregular hours are often part of the deal.
Right, those emergency repairs don't always happen during business hours, being on call, working weekends, that kind of thing.
Yep. Especially as you gain experience and move up the ranks, flexibility is key in this field.
Okay, so there are definitely some challenges to consider. But all in all, it sounds like a pretty amazing career path, especially if you're someone who enjoys problem solving, working with your hands, and staying on the cutting edge of technology.
Absolutely. And let's not forget, the job security is excellent.
Right. The demand for skilled technicians is only going up. Now, let's circle back to technology one more time. I was struck by how it's not just changing how these systems work, but also the entire HVAC industry. What are some of the ways you see that playing out?
Data-driven decision-making is huge. With all the sensors and smart tech we talked about, there's this gold mine of data about how these systems operate in real-world situations.
So it's not just about experience and gut feelings anymore.
Nope. Data is king. It's leading to smarter system designs, more efficient installations, and proactive maintenance strategies.
Okay, that's pretty cool. What other tech trends are you seeing? What's on the horizon for the industry?
VR and AR are starting to make waves in training and education.
Wait, virtual reality for learning about HVAC. Tell me more.
It's pretty amazing. Imagine putting on a headset and being able to visualize a complex HVAC system in 3D. You can walk around inside of it, see how all the components work together.
Wow, that's next level learning. So instead of just reading about it in a textbook, you can experience it firsthand.
Exactly. And then there's augmented reality. Imagine a technician wearing AR glasses that overlay information onto their real-world view. They could be looking at a jumble of wires, and the glasses would highlight the exact ones they need to focus on.
It's like X-ray vision for HVAC.
Right. And it's not just for training. Technicians could use AR glasses to diagnose problems in the field, too.
That would be a game changer. Instead of spending hours trying to find the source of a problem, they could pinpoint it in minutes.
Exactly. And that's just scratching the surface. Tech is transforming everything, from how HVAC companies schedule their technicians to how they interact with customers.
Okay, so it's clear that anyone entering this field needs to be tech savvy. But let's not forget about the importance of certifications. We touched on them earlier, but I think it's worth diving a bit deeper. Why are they so crucial for HVAC technicians?
They're your way of proving your skills and knowledge, basically. It's a way for employers to know you meet industry standards.
Right, it's like a stamp of approval from the HVAC gods, telling everyone you know what you're doing.
Exactly. And in a field like this, where safety is so important, certifications really matter.
It gives everyone peace of mind, knowing that the person working on their HVAC system is qualified and competent.
For sure. And the RoleCatcher Guide did a nice job of highlighting the key certifications that are most valuable. We talked about the EPA Section 608 certification. It's mandatory for anyone handling refrigerants.
Right, so it's not just a nice to have, it's a legal requirement.
Yep. It ensures that technicians understand the environmental regulations surrounding refrigerants, protecting the ozone layer and all that.
So it's not just about technical skills, it's about environmental responsibility as well.
Exactly. Now, another big one is the NATE certification, which stands for North American Technician Excellence.
I've heard of that one. It's nationally recognized, right?
Mhm.
Pretty well respected within the industry.
It is, and it's voluntary, which means technicians who go for it are really going above and beyond.
Shows real dedication. What does the NATE certification cover, specifically?
They've got a whole range of specialized certifications covering things like air conditioning, heat pumps, gas heating, air distribution, you name it.
So technicians can really hone in on their area of expertise.
Exactly. And because it's nationally recognized, the NATE certification can be super helpful if you're looking to move around, work in different parts of the country.
Like a portable badge of honor for HVAC technicians.
Huh? I like that. Now, another one worth mentioning is the RSES certification, offered by the Refrigeration Service Engineers Society.
Okay, that one sounds impressive. What does the RSES certification entail?
They have certifications for all levels, from entry level to super advanced, covering a wide range of topics within refrigeration, air conditioning, and heating systems.
So no matter where you are in your career, there's an RSES certification for you.
Yep. And because the RSES is so well respected within the industry, their certifications carry a lot of weight.
I bet. Those letters after your name on a resume probably turn heads. And then there's the HVAC Excellence certification. That's another one that seems to come up a lot.
It is. That's another nationally recognized and accredited certification program. They offer a bunch of credentials all the way up to Master Technician.
So similar to NATE in terms of how it's structured and the level of recognition it holds within the industry.
Exactly. Both excellent options for technicians who are serious about their careers.
Now, there was one last certification in the guide that I wanted to touch on, the ESCO certification. What's that all about? I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with that one.
ESCO stands for Energy Service Company. This certification is all about energy efficiency, which is a big deal these days.
Right. Sustainability, saving the planet, one HVAC system at a time.
Exactly. ESCO certified professionals are the ones who conduct energy audits, figure out where energy is being wasted, and recommend and implement those energy efficient solutions.
So for those listening who are passionate about the environment, this could be a really cool niche to look into.
Absolutely. It's a chance to use your technical skills to make a real difference.
Love it. Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here. We've talked about the day-to-day realities of this job, the tech that's transforming the industry, those all-important certifications, and even how AI is changing the way people find jobs.
It's been quite a deep dive, but I think it's safe to say that this is a field with a very bright future.
Totally agree. And speaking of the future, there's one more thing I want to touch on before we wrap up. We've talked a lot about the amazing things AI can do, but as with any technology, there are potential downsides. What are your thoughts on that, especially in the context of this field?
You're absolutely right. We can't just get caught up in the excitement of new technology without thinking critically about the potential consequences.
Exactly. For example, while AI has the potential to make hiring more fair by focusing on skills rather than, say, someone's name or where they went to school, there's also a risk that those algorithms could actually make existing inequalities worse.
That's a huge concern. If the data used to train these AI systems is biased, the AI will just learn and amplify those biases.
It's a good reminder that technology is only as good as the people who create it. We have a responsibility to make sure these tools are used to create a more equitable world, not a less equitable one.
100%. It's a conversation we need to be having more and more as AI becomes more integrated into our lives.
Well said. Okay, so as we all ponder the ethical implications of AI, let's end on a slightly lighter note. Our final thought-provoking question for the listeners out there. We've talked about how technology impacts technicians, but what about the homeowners and consumers? What are some of the ways these advancements in smart homes and AI-powered systems might impact their lives?
Oh, that's a juicy one. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, on the one hand, they have the potential to make our lives easier and more comfortable. I mean, who doesn't love the idea of their home automatically adjusting the temperature to keep them comfortable year-round?
Right.
But,
But
but, there's always a but, isn't there? It also brings up questions about data privacy and security. Like, how much data is my smart thermostat collecting about my daily habits, and what happens to that data?
exactly. And there's also the question of reliability. What happens when the power goes out or the Wi-Fi is down? We become so reliant on these smart systems that we might forget how to do even the simplest things ourselves.
It's true. I can barely program my coffee maker without consulting the manual. Imagine trying to troubleshoot a complex smart HVAC system without any technical knowledge.
Right. It's all about finding that
Yeah.
balance, embracing the convenience of technology while also being mindful of the potential downsides and making sure we don't become overly reliant on it.
It's a constant balancing act, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But hey, that's what makes this whole conversation so interesting.
I agree. The more we learn, the more questions we uncover. It's a never-ending journey of discovery.
And that's a wrap on another deep dive. To our listeners, thanks for joining us on this exploration of the ever-evolving world of HVAC. Keep those minds curious, those thermostats balanced, and we'll catch you next time for another fascinating conversation. Okay, so for our listener who's now daydreaming about a future career as a tech-savvy climate control guru, what's the one big takeaway you want them to walk away with from this deep dive?
This career path is so much more than just fixing things. It's about being a problem solver, a tech enthusiast, and a lifelong learner. You're on the cutting edge of a field that's being reshaped by technology and driven by the increasing need for energy efficiency and sustainability.
It's like you're not just choosing a job, you're choosing to be a part of something bigger.
Exactly. And with the right combination of skills, dedication, and that constant drive to learn and grow, there's incredible potential for a rewarding and impactful career.
Beautifully said. And as always, we like to leave our listeners with a final thought-provoking question to ponder something that goes beyond the information we've covered, but stems from the core of this deep dive.
I'm all ears. What intriguing question have you cooked up for our audience today?
We've talked a lot about how technology is changing the game for HVAC technicians, but what about the flip side? How might those advancements in smart homes and AI-powered systems impact homeowners and consumers?
That's a great question. On the one hand, these technologies have the potential to make our lives easier and more comfortable, but they also raise important questions about data privacy, security, and even our reliance on technology.
It's like that old saying, just because you can doesn't always mean you should. It's something to think about as we invite these increasingly sophisticated technologies into our homes and businesses.
Absolutely. It's a conversation worth having as we navigate this exciting but complex technological landscape.
Well said. It seems like with every deep dive, we uncover even more questions, which is what makes this whole journey so fascinating.
I couldn't agree more. It's the thrill of exploration and discovery that keeps us coming back for more.
Exactly. So to our listeners, keep those minds curious, those questions coming, and we'll catch you next time for another deep dive into a topic that's sure to surprise and enlighten.